So today, I want to talk about Kid because Kid is a very strange character in One Piece for me. I feel as though I should really be invested in him and all the things that he's doing because of all the hype that Oda has generated for him ever since Sabaody, and it's really not the same. When there's moments that show these three characters, Luffy, Law, and Kid, together, and they have this great group dynamic, I feel as though Kid oftentimes is somewhat forced because for Luffy and Law, we had these massive arcs, or literally the entire story for Luffy's case, to get really attached to these characters and know who they are in and out. But for Kid, I feel as though Oda is forcing this dynamic upon him because we haven't really had the time to fully develop and learn more about Kid's character, his past, his motivations besides revenge. And I think as though since Oda's trying to have this dynamic, we should have had moments like that, even in Wano. For example, I feel as though a perfect position for this kind of moment for Kid would have been at the reveal of Killer being the one who was forced to eat a smile fruit and became the serial killer that Zoro had to fight earlier in the arc. I feel as though this would have been the perfect point for us to have a large flashback. By large, I don't mean like long flashback, but a large time skip back to when Kaido first fell from the sky. So it would show Apu turning coat, Hawkins kind of following victim to the odds and just joining Kaido off of that, and then Kid and Killer struggling and suffering and eventually losing to Kaido. Why I think this is so important is because of what we have to compare Kid to. Luffy, again, main character of the series. Law has been with us for hundreds and hundreds of chapters at this point. We have a full backstory for him. Law essentially had an entire saga. The Dressrosa saga was completely dedicated to Law, like showing him off, getting us to like him. I feel as though Kid needed that same treatment in order for us to feel fully that he belongs on the same level of, oh my god, they're all here. You know what I mean? I feel like this is so important because we need to see Kid on that same level. Kid essentially has just been a prisoner to Kaido when at the start he was possibly the most promising of the Supernova introduced because he was at a higher bounty than Luffy. He was more dangerous than Luffy. His second in command was also in the Supernova, just like Luffy. He had a lot of things that had commendable attributes for us at the time, but as the series has continued, Kid has not really shown that same level of growth, especially in comparison to Luffy, but also to people like Law, in my opinion. Now, I know I'm saying Kid is not on the level of Luffy and Law, and I still don't think so, but I'm not saying I don't dislike Kid. I think Kid has a lot of promising attributes to him, but I feel as though at this point in the story, we have not been able to fully develop this character, and I'm honestly a bit worried we won't be able to develop his character at this point in the story because we are so deep in the action of the arc. I don't understand how we'll be able to fit in any moments with Kid's flashback or his real motivations outside of just revenge. Why did he become a pirate? All these things that I feel as though we should know about him, which we know about Luffy and Law. I know I keep comparing them, but I feel as though if these characters are all presented on the same level of respect and acknowledgement for the reader, we should know all these things by this point. So here's the actual idea that drove me to create this video. I feel as though Kid should have had his own arc, and personally, I think it would be really cool if Kid was the supernova that was highlighted on Whole Cake Island. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Narratively, that doesn't make sense. Kid should be captured by Kaido just like the rest of them. But let's just say that didn't happen. Let's just theoretically say Kid actually escaped from Kaido. However, the rest of them, Apu, Hawkins, and Killer, did not. I feel as though this would not really affect his story arc in Wano because he would still be coming after Kaido for revenge. Now, there are two specific reasons in particular, actually three specific reasons, that I pick Whole Cake Island over any other arc that Kid could have been focused on. First is the lack of characters within Whole Cake Island that we are used to. Obviously, in Whole Cake Island, we are focusing on the other half of the Straw Hats that had to leave in Dressrosa. So Nami, Chopper, and Brook, and Sanji, obviously. But there's obviously this large lack of characters that we know. So we're reintroduced to Beige. We're reintroduced theoretically to Lola, since her presence in the story fully returns in this arc. And we are finally introduced to the real important characters in this arc, Big Mom. So what I decided would be cool is to further integrate Kid into this arc, because Kid fits the theme of this arc, in my opinion, very well. But Kevin, why are you saying Kid would be good in this arc when we already have Beige, a supernova, so someone on the same level of Luffy, who also has a strong resemblance to the family-centered themes of the arc? Well, I feel as though Kid would be good in this arc because Kid doesn't have any family, but he does have a family in the same sense that Luffy does, his crew. Now, seeing that Kid's crew would all have been captured on Wano with Kaido, this would be the motivation he needs to return to Wano and ensure that he's strong enough to save his crew from Kaido. This would have been the motivation that allowed him to flee from Wano to get stronger by fighting Big Mom's troops, which is literally stated in Wano. That is what he did before fighting and getting captured by Kaido. This same sense would have also given Kid the same level of respect that we have for Luffy in this arc, which is being able to defeat one of Big Mom's Yonko commanders, which assumedly would have been Cracker or Smoothie, because those are the two characters that we see are scarred in the arc. And as we know, Kid had injured one of them, and Katakuri has no scars. So Kid damaging either of them would have been cool. Personally, if I were to write it out, it would have been Smoothie, because I felt as though her focus in the arc was definitely not as much as Cracker and Katakuri. And the last reason that I think Kid should be in this arc is because of two things. One, this is the arc that is a side quest essentially leading up to Wano, which is the penultimate point of this entire saga of the story. And two, Law isn't here. And I know that might sound weird that Law isn't here, but this would allow Kid and Luffy to develop a strong dynamic with each other, which they already have in Wano with their strong rivalry and being the same level of blunt-headedness. But I feel as though giving Kid his time to shine alone without Killer or anyone else showing just who he is would allow him to develop a strong connection / further rivalry to Luffy. And I feel as though this is important because this singling out of Kid would be perfect to further develop his backstories, his motivations outside of revenge, which we'd obviously get to see, but perhaps we could have some further development in general. Essentially, I feel as though Kid should be on the same level of development and care from Oda as we have seen with Law and Luffy. Obviously, Law and Luffy have more development because they've been in the story more, but I feel as though putting Kid in Whole Cake Island would have been prime decision to have him be focused on. Now, there are some negatives to this, obviously. I feel as though the focus on Beige, which no one expected, in my opinion, to be a really developed character since he was more of a stereotypical gangster kind of mafia look, I felt as though giving him a really great personality that cared about his family so much made him really endearing. And personally, I became a massive fan of Beige after Whole Cake Island, even though personally he was not one of my favorite supernovas. He was probably one of my least favorite supernovas from original appearance, but his power was really cool. So why is this important? For thematic reasons we've covered, for narrative reasons we've covered, and for power scaling reasons, because people love to talk about that. If Kid was able to damage a Big Mom sweet commander just like Luffy did, people would see them more on an equal level, unlike what it is now, where Luffy is seen as much more powerful than Kid is, because Luffy has been shown training and training and training. If Kid were shown on the same level as Luffy and Whole Cake, this training with Kid's lack of training would look so much more evident and clear that Luffy's perseverance to actually surpass these people is stronger than Kid's just revenge and motivation of revenge. Kid, I feel as though, hasn't been putting in the work. He obviously had the scene with the lifting of the rocks, but Kid has not been shown to practice Ryo. He has not been shown to practice Future Sight. He has not been shown to practice spoiler anime things, but Conqueror's stuff. We don't even know if Kid has Conquerors because that's how vague it is. It's just, I feel as though he could have had so much more development in the arcs prior to Wano, and I think it's rather disappointing because people really genuinely don't like Kid. I feel as though he could have had a lot more development, and it's just a shame. I feel as though he shouldn't be trashed on for not having as much development, but this focus would have made it feel as though he was a much more developed character. Those are my thoughts on Kid and why he should have been in Whole Cake Island, why that should have been an arc that centered around Kid and had him be a pivotal character in the story rather than us just meeting him once again on Wano. I feel as though giving him the time and the spotlight to really shine with us would have been a great decision, and allowing him to really just belong to the readers for a sec, not just be reintroduced with Luffy. Kid needs scenes to shine on his own. Other characters, even main Straw Hat characters, had struggled with this very, very intensely. For example, I would say the strongest character in this kind of predicament was Brook after Thriller Bark. Brook didn't feel as though a member of the crew because of all the insanity that was happening around him, but Whole Cake Island showed up, and Brook was genuinely some of the best moments in that entire arc. I feel as though giving these characters moments to shine in the reader's eyes really makes them endearing, with stuff like Brook and Beige. So yeah, that's why I think Kid really needed an arc that focused on him extensively outside of Wano, because Wano is such an overwhelming arc filled with all these characters that we do know and we don't know, and all these things are colliding together, like all these characters returning from the story, all these new characters constantly barraging us with introductions. I feel as though having Kid in Whole Cake Island would have been a great neutral point for his character to start bouncing back into the story. And personally, I know people really like Kid because of his attacks, but attacks don't make you cool. Character makes you a good character. And that's not to say Kid sucks. People hate Kid. Again, I've said this before. Kid is cool, but I just hope he gets these moments of development in Onigashima, because I think he really, really is overdue for these kind of moments. So yeah, that's it from me. If you did enjoy this video, hope you like, comment, subscribe, YouTube spiel. Obviously, there's a ton of new people to the channel after one of my recent videos on Ohara's theory reaction, which is absolutely fantastic. I am really glad that a bunch of people have decided to stick around, and I hope you enjoy my content in the future. So yeah, if you enjoyed, hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.